they asked them to explain what an elbow is in Xitsonga. This is what led to the murder of our people in Boipatong in the early 90s. If you couldn't say Ndololwane, you get killed. Now if you can't say elbow in Xitsonga, they arrest you. The police are perpetuating the criminalization of our people based on how they look, based on the texture of their hair, based on the color of their skin in terms of darkness, and based on their dialect. And it must be condemned. The police must not sink to the level of vigilante groups simply to please them and conduct random door-to-door. I mean, I don't have my ID on me now. They could come here now and ask me for my ID. What happens when I say I don't have it? How do I identify myself as a South African? Must I speak isiXhosa for them to realize that I'm South African? So we must not allow ourselves as a nation to descend to the levels of a vigilante group that is simply a syndicate. And we must not allow ourselves to tag these vigilantes as communities. It's not communities. Watch the news every morning. The SABC newsroom interview the people on these streets. One of them this morning said they must arrest the people who burnt Elvis Nyati because the criminals in Diepsloot are the people of Diepsloot. They are the people of South Africa. We know who they are. So let's not give vigilante groups, murderers, invaders of homes, thieves, the cover and the blanket of calling themselves communities. They are not communities. They do not represent the collective will of communities. Our communities are not murderers. Our communities don't burn people alive. It is people without a conscience who have taken advantage of the lack of service delivery in this country to attack innocent, defenseless people. So that is our message today. Parcel of combating actions that have happened recently in this week. It's only through an organization with a conscience that does not other and criminalize foreign nationals that will be able to gain proper economic freedom and an understanding of who the enemy is in society. So we are doing that qualitative and quantitative recruitment process to be able to rescue South Africa from diversions such as vigilante groups, which are sponsored by the ruling party and endorsed by the ruling party. Because the existence of groups such as this, which blame crime on foreign nationals, which blame collapsing hospitals on foreign nationals, which blame unemployment on foreign nationals, serves the ANC. Because it makes us not hold the ANC accountable, but blame a minority of foreign nationals who are working as garden boys and kitchen girls for the collective problems of our country. So you must not think that the ANC is speaking in double tongues by coincidence. These vigilante groups are no different from the alliance partners of the ANC. They are no different from SANCO. They are no different from SACP. They are no different from COSATU. They are a product of the ANC. In order to divulge or diverge the direct attack on holding the ANC accountable for the collapse of South African society. So they are a product of the ANC, and going into 2024, they are trying to capture the anti-immigrant sentiment and anti-immigrant vote. So they are going to sponsor a lot of diversions so that our people don't hold them accountable directly. So the EFF has to grow its capacity to ensure that the ANC is not successful in its program of repeating what happened in Boipatong, repeating what happened in Sebokeng, in terms of murdering black people in defense of a regime.
Okay.
And it is unfortunate because there are occasions as a political party where you make predictions and analysis in terms of what will happen politically, just reading a situation. We read the situation in Soweto when an elderly man's house was raided. We read the situation in Alexandra where people's houses are being hijacked and resold and sold again on a market by people who are targeting those they call foreigners in our country. And we did say that if this is not stopped, it can end in a loss of life. And this is one of those unfortunate occasions where we wish we were wrong, and we weren't. So we've paid our respects here, and I think the message that we must be able to send out, not only to South Africans, but the continent, is that what happened to Elvis Nyati is not a representation of who South Africans are. The burning of a human being alive simply because they do not have a document is not a representation of who South Africans are. And we send our deepest apologies to the people of Zimbabwe and to the people of Africa for subjecting another human being who has the same color of skin that we have to such brutality and torture. So we send those condolences. And another caution I think we must be able to register and send out is that the popular media, and particularly the SABC, which is a public broadcaster that can reach each and every corner in this country, must be cautious of giving platform to misleading narratives, as if there is an onslaught or war waged by foreign nationals on South Africans in South Africa. It's not true. So this matter comes after allegations that 7 South Africans were killed by foreign nationals here in Diepsloot over the past weekend. That is not true. And this narrative has been able to survive in popular media without question. And it's coming out now from police statements that about 5 people have been killed in Diepsloot over a period from October 2021 till the last week. And there's no confirmation that these murders were inflicted by foreign nationals. Pay our last respects to the family and the loved ones of Elvis Nyat, who was brutally murdered after a door-to-door raid by a vigilante grouping here in Diepsloot. And we had an engagement with the widow, who is a mother of 4, who has indicated to us what happened on the night exactly. So we were told that there was a raid in the early hours of Wednesday morning where people were doing door-to-door here in the same way we've seen it happening in Soweto and Alexandra, demanding passports from the residents here in Diepsloot. And unfortunately, Elvis Nyat on that occasion was unable to provide his passport to these individuals who have made themselves enforcers of a DOMPA system, because it comes to be that now you must prove your identity in order to be living in Diepsloot, Soweto and Alexandra. So his inability to provide a passport meant his death, because they dragged him out of his home. They beat him. Firstly, they beat him and they beat his wife. If she wants the return of her husband, she said she doesn't have any money. They said, give us whatever you have. She said she has 50 rand. And they took that 50 rand and they said, then we will see what we will do with your husband. It was at that point in which he was dragged, tied up, beaten and burnt alive. And he unfortunately did not survive that attack. So as the EFF, we were here to pay our respects. We were here to mourn with the widow and the family. They must be arrested. But criminality doesn't have a nationality. So you can't want to fight crime and reduce it to identity. So you don't arrest a person who has robbed a bank and say Xhosa arrested for robbing ABSA. You don't arrest a person who has abducted a child or raped a child and say CPD person arrested for abduction and rape. You arrest a criminal, you arrest a rapist, you arrest a robber, you arrest a criminal. So why is there a national distinction or a nationality-based distinction on people committing crime? Criminals must be arrested because they are criminals. The danger of attaching identity or ethnicity to criminals is that you get a group targeted on the basis of who they are. And we must fight against that. That's our comment in terms of that. Let's give Newsroom, because you're